China has recently launched a significant counterattack against the encroaching sands.
8 years ago, China did something very strange. They poured billions of tons of unsalted water into this lifeless desert. They did this to fight back against desertification and to bring life where none should exist. The results of this were anything but expected.
Thousands of kilometers of artificial canals, aqueducts, and tunnels that cross literal mountains.
What happened over the next 8 years stunned scientists, baffled locals, and changed parts of this deadly desert. Why exactly did China pour so much water in the desert? And what effect did having so much water have on the desert? Stay tuned, because what you're about to find out will blow your mind. How the Taklamakan Desert came to have unsalted water lakes. Everyone knows that a desert holding water is one of the strangest occurrences to exist, but deserts like the Taklamakan Desert still exist. At first glance, it seems like nothing could survive here, and certainly not lakes filled with fresh, unsalted water. But surprisingly, the Taklamakan Desert has a few rare lakes that hold fresh water. Now, how did this come to be? Well, to understand how these unsalted lakes came to be, we need to look at the mountains that surround the Taklamakan. To the north, there are the Tian Shan Mountains, and to the south, the Kunlun Mountains. These mountains are very tall and are often covered with snow, especially in winter. When summer arrives, the snow and ice begin to melt. This melted water flows down the mountains, forming rivers and streams. The most important river in this story is the Tarim River. It is about 820 miles long and runs along the northern edge of the desert. Several smaller rivers feed into the Tarim, like the Aksu, Yarkand, and Hotan rivers. All of these rivers get their water from the melting snow of the mountains. As they flow, they bring life to the land, helping plants grow and creating small areas where people can farm. Now, here's where things get interesting. These rivers don't flow into a sea or ocean like most rivers do. Instead, when they reach the desert, they slowly begin to disappear. The extreme heat causes the water to evaporate quickly, and the sand absorbs much of it. Some rivers break into smaller streams and vanish. Others sink into the ground, forming hidden underground water channels. But when there is a lot of water, like during heavy snowmelt, or after a sudden summer flood, the rivers don't disappear right away. Instead, the water collects in low areas of the desert, forming lakes. These lakes are unsalted because the water comes directly from the melted snow and ice in the mountains. Unlike saltwater lakes, which form when water stays in one place for a long time and evaporates, leaving salt behind, these lakes are fresh. The rivers bring clean water from the mountains, and the lakes form quickly, before the water has a chance to become salty. One of the most well-known lakes in the region is Lop Nur. Thousands of years ago, Lop Nur was a huge saltwater lake. Over time, the rivers feeding it changed course, and the lake began to dry up. Today, Lop Nur is mostly dry. But sometimes, after heavy rainfall or when the Tarim River overflows, small freshwater lakes appear in the area. These lakes don't last long. Some dry up within weeks or months, but while they exist, they bring a rare sight of water in the middle of the desert. Another important lake is Taitima Lake. Things don't end there. The sand dunes also play a role in forming these lakes. The dunes are always moving, pushed by strong winds. Sometimes the sand piles up and creates natural barriers, like walls. When rivers or underground water channels hit these sand walls, the water has nowhere to go and pools into a lake. These lakes might last a few days, weeks, or even longer, depending on how much water there is and how hot the weather is. These unsalted lakes have been important for people in the region for a long time. Now that we know why the Taklamakan Desert has so much unsalted water, we need to talk about the desert's environment itself and why the fact that it has these lakes is such a strange occurrence. Keep watching to find out. The harsh environment of China's Taklamakan Desert. The Taklamakan Desert is one of the most extreme and unforgiving places on Earth. It is located in the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region in northwest China. This desert is the largest in China and the second largest shifting sand desert in the world, covering an area of about 130,000 square miles. To put that into perspective, it is almost the size of Germany. The name Taklamakan is believed to mean place of no return, or you can get in, but you can't get out, which goes to show how dangerous and mysterious it has always been. People have long feared this desert because of its deadly conditions, and for centuries, it was a place few dared to cross. The Taklamakan is part of the larger Tarim Basin, surrounded by some of the world's tallest mountain ranges, which include the Tian Shan Mountains to the north and the Kunlun Mountains to the south. These mountains not only form a natural boundary, but also play a huge role in the desert's harsh environment. The mountains block moisture from reaching the desert, so very little rain ever falls there. In fact, the Taklamakan receives less than 0.4 inches of rain per year. To compare, the Sahara Desert gets about 3 inches of rain a year, which means the Taklamakan is even drier. That's not all. One of the most striking features of this desert is its constantly shifting sand dunes. The dunes can reach heights of up to about 980 feet, which is taller than the Eiffel Tower. These sand dunes are always moving because of the strong winds that sweep across the desert, making it even harder for travelers to find their way. The sandstorms here are fierce and unpredictable, sometimes lasting for days. In ancient times, many trade caravans traveling along the Silk Road were swallowed by these sands, their remains hidden beneath the dunes for centuries. The temperatures in Taklamakan are extreme. During summer, the daytime temperatures can soar as high as 122 degrees Fahrenheit. The heat is relentless, and there is very little shade to offer relief. At night, however, the temperature drops sharply, sometimes falling below freezing, even in summer. In winter, it gets even colder, with temperatures dropping to -4 degrees Fahrenheit or lower. Historically, the Taklamakan played a huge role in the ancient Silk Road. The Silk Road was a network of trade routes that connected China to the Middle East and Europe, flourishing between the 2nd century BCE and the 14th century CE. Because the desert was so dangerous to cross directly, traders would skirt around its edges, stopping at various oases like Khotan, which is now known as Hotan, and Kashgar. These towns became vital trading hubs that offered shelter, food, and water to weary travelers. Yet, people still risked crossing the desert, hoping for a faster route. Unfortunately, many of them never made it out. Despite its harshness, the Taklamakan is home to some wildlife and plant species that have adapted to its extreme conditions. Tamarisk shrubs and poplar trees grow in the oases, their roots digging deep into the earth to find water. Animals like Bactrian camels, known for their 2 humps, are perfectly suited to life in the desert, capable of going for long periods without water. Small rodents, like jerboas, and birds of prey, such as eagles and falcons, also survive here, demonstrating nature's incredible ability to adapt. Now that we know the harsh conditions of the Taklamakan Desert and why it is so strange for it to have these unsalted water lakes, it is time for us to take a look at the effects of these unsalted water lakes in the desert. Stick around, because what we're about to reveal will shock you. The effects of the unsalted water lakes in the Taklamakan Desert.
We've been driving along the world's 2nd largest desert, the Taklamakan Desert.
The Taklamakan Desert's unsalted water lakes may not last forever, as they are always appearing and disappearing depending on the flow of rivers and the melting of snow from the surrounding mountains. But their effects on the desert and the life around them are both surprising and important. One of the most important effects of these freshwater lakes is how they bring life to the desert. Most of the water that forms these lakes comes from the melting snow and ice in the Tian Shan and Kunlun Mountains. As the rivers flow down into the desert, some of the water collects in low-lying areas, forming temporary lakes. Because the water comes directly from snowmelt, it doesn't have time to gather salt like other desert lakes. Instead, it remains fresh, allowing plants to grow and animals to gather. These lakes create small oases, which are pockets of green in an otherwise barren land. Around these oases, grasses, reeds, and even small bushes can grow. This plant life, in turn, attracts animals like birds, wild camels, and small desert creatures, which then creates a brief but important ecosystem. For people living near the Taklamakan Desert, these unsalted lakes have always been a lifeline. The Uyghur people, who have lived in this region for centuries, rely on the rivers and lakes for farming. Towns and villages often form near these water sources, allowing people to grow crops like cotton, melons, and grapes. Without the seasonal lakes, farming in such a harsh desert would be almost impossible. The lakes also provide drinking water for both people and their livestock, especially in the summer months when the heat becomes unbearable. Even though the lakes may not last long, their impact on daily life is undeniable. Wait, there's more. The lakes also play a role in history. During the time of the Silk Road, which is the famous trade route that connected China to Europe, the freshwater lakes were important for travelers crossing the desert. Merchants, camels, and traders all depended on these rare water sources to survive the long and dangerous journey. Cities like Kashgar and Hotan thrived because they were near rivers and lakes, offering rest and supplies to those passing through. Without these lakes, the Silk Road might not have been as successful, as crossing the Taklamakan without water would have been nearly impossible. Apart from their role in supporting life, the lakes also affect the desert's environment. The water from these lakes can seep into the ground, refilling underground water channels and slowing the spread of sand dunes. The dunes, pushed by strong winds, are always moving, but when they come across a lake or a patch of wet ground, they stop or change direction. This prevents some areas from being completely swallowed by sand and helps create more stable pockets of land. In a way, the lakes act like natural barriers, holding back the ever-shifting sands. That being said, not all the effects are positive. Climate change and human activity have made it harder for these lakes to form and survive. Many of the rivers feeding the Taklamakan have shrunk over the years, partly because of droughts and partly because people are using the water for farming and industry. The Tarim River, the longest river in this region, has become smaller, and some of its branches no longer reach the desert like they once did. This means fewer lakes are forming, and the ones that do appear dry up much faster. Without these lakes, both plant and animal life suffer, and the sand dunes move even more freely, swallowing up land and making it harder for people to farm or live nearby. There have been efforts to protect and restore some of these lakes. One of the most famous examples is Taitama Lake, which had almost disappeared by the late 1900s. In 2000, the Chinese government released water into the Tarim River, and slowly, the lake returned. To everyone's surprise, the lake was filled with fresh, unsalted water, which is a rare and hopeful sign that the desert's natural balance could still be saved. This project not only brought water back to the area, but also revived plant life and encouraged birds and other animals to return. At the end of the day, the unsalted lakes of the Taklamakan Desert are more than just pools of water in the sand. They are symbols of life and survival in one of the harshest environments on Earth. While they may come and go with the seasons, their impact lasts far longer. As the world changes, protecting these lakes becomes even more important, not just for the desert, but for the people and wildlife that call this unforgiving land their home. The Shadow Conclave. The Papal Conclave, in the Roman Catholic Church, the assembly of cardinals gathered to elect a new pope and the system of strict seclusion to which they submit. There have been stories of a hidden assembly, a shadow conclave operating behind the scenes. This shadow conclave is said to include a select circle of high-ranking clergy and influential laypeople, chosen for their spiritual depth, strategic insight, and vast knowledge. And their task is to weigh each candidate's potential, scrutinizing qualities that align with their vision for the Catholic Church's future. People living in the Vatican drink more wine than anywhere else in the world. On average, each Vatican resident gulps down an amazing 74 liters of wine per year. That's double the amount consumed in wine-loving countries like France and Italy. There are a few reasons why Vatican residents drink so much wine. First, they often eat together in big groups. Second, The only supermarket in the tiny city-state sells wine without any taxes or duties. This makes wine very cheap and easy to buy, leading to the sky-high wine consumption. Number 13. The election of a new pope. When the College of Cardinals meets to elect a new pope, they follow ancient traditions that have remained virtually unchanged for centuries. This includes secluding themselves in the Sistine Chapel and using a special chemical mix to create the famous black or white smoke signals. During the election process, the cardinals' votes are crucial. They need at least 77 out of 115 votes for one candidate to become the new pope. The smoke that emerges from the chapel chimney plays a vital role in signaling the progress of their decision. The process involves burning the ballots and personal notes in a two-stove system. The ballots are first incinerated in a traditional cast-iron stove, used since the conclave of 1939. This action triggers an electronic mechanism on a newer stove, introduced in 2005, which releases a cartridge containing one of two chemical mixtures. For black smoke, potassium perchlorate, anthracene, and sulfur are combined. White smoke, on the other hand, is created using potassium chlorate, lactose, and Greek pitch, a type of pine resin. The electronic device releases 5 charges of the chosen mixture, each about the size of a tissue box, one at a time. This ensures the smoke remains visible for approximately 7 minutes as it exits through a single exhaust pipe connected to the Sistine Chapel's chimney. Thus, the smoke seen from St. Peter's Square is a blend of the burned ballots and these specific chemical compounds, providing a clear visual indication to the waiting world of whether a new pope has been elected. Number 12. The Laocoon and his son's statue. Discovered in Rome in 1506 and now showcased in the Vatican museums, the statue known as Laocoon and his sons has become renowned in art history. It depicts the Trojan priest Laocoon and his sons Antiphates and Thymbraeus struggling against sea serpents. Standing just over 6 feet tall, the figures are nearly life-sized. This ancient marble sculpture, celebrated by Pliny the Elder, showcases intense human suffering, marked by contorted faces and strained bodies. Laocoon's agonizing expression, with prominently furrowed brows, is particularly notable. Pliny attributed the work to 3 Greek sculptors, Agasander, Athenodoros, and Polydorus from Rhodes, but its exact origins remain uncertain. Scholars debate whether it's an original piece or a Roman-era replica. Despite missing parts and ancient modifications, the statue remains remarkably well preserved for its age. Displayed in the Museo Pio Clementino within the Vatican museums, the Laocoon group continues to captivate viewers with its portrayal of profound human emotion and physical struggle. Number 11. The Vatican Observatory. Established in 1891, this observatory blends astronomy with the Catholic Church's dedication to seeking knowledge. Located in Castel Gandolfo's hills, its research facilities are supported by the Vatican city-state. Founded under the Holy See, the Vatican Observatory conducts astronomical research and engages the public to deepen our understanding of the universe. It is among the world's oldest active observatories, tracing its origins back to 1582 during the Gregorian calendar reform. Situated at the Papal summer residence in Castel Gandolfo, just outside Rome, the observatory hosts a team of 12 priests and brothers from diverse backgrounds, including Jesuits and diocesan members. Their research employs modern scientific methods to explore the cosmos. Collaborating closely with the Vatican Observatory Foundation, the institution promotes education and public involvement in astronomy. It fosters constructive conversations bridging faith and science, reflecting the Vatican's commitment to harmonizing spiritual beliefs with scientific exploration. The Vatican Observatory's celestial studies not only contribute to scientific progress, but also highlight the Church's ongoing support for learning and discovery. Number 10. The Vatican's citizenship policy. The Vatican City differs from other nations in its citizenship policy. The population mainly consists of clergy, Swiss guards, and a few staff members residing within its borders. Other residents include diplomats and Holy See employees, but there are no permanent citizens in the traditional sense. Citizenship in Vatican City is granted under jus officii, meaning it is given to individuals appointed to official roles within the Church. This citizenship is temporary and lasts only as long as their appointment. Since Vatican City lacks hospitals and delivery facilities, no one can be born a citizen there. Becoming a citizen of Vatican City is much harder than becoming an Italian citizen and living in Rome. Citizenship extends to immediate family members living together, but is revoked once the official appointment ends. Number 9. The Cabinet of the Masks. The Cabinet of the Masks is one of the many hidden treasures you can find at the Vatican Museum. The story of the Cabinet of the Masks begins with architect Alessandro Dori. The architect initiated its transformation in 1771, focusing on a hall within the Palazzetto Innocent VIII, originally intended for museum purposes. Though much of Dori's work has been altered over time, the hall underwent a significant redesign in the neoclassical style by Michelangelo Simonetti a decade later. Simonetti, known for his contributions across the Vatican, entrusted Cristoforo Unterperger and Domenico De Angelis with adorning the walls of the Hall of Masks. Among the notable sculptures is the dung chair, made from dark rose marble, which has a curious history as a papal throne. Legend connects it to the mythical Pope Joan, purportedly a woman who reigned in the 9th century. The chair's association led to a tradition where each new pope would undergo a seated examination to dispel any fears of a disguised female pope. Number 8. The Vatican Time Machine Project. The Vatican's Time Machine Project is one of the most intriguing discoveries hidden deep within the Vatican's secret archives. According to rumors, the Vatican has been developing a device called the chronovisor that can peer into the past and witness historical events unfold in real time. Imagine being able to observe the construction of the Great Pyramids or the signing of the Magna Carta. The potential of such a device is truly mind-blowing and could revolutionize our understanding of history. Conspiracy theorists claim that the Vatican has kept this project tightly under wraps to maintain control over historical narratives and prevent the misuse of this powerful technology. Skeptics, on the other hand, dismiss these claims as mere fantasy. However, the allure of a time machine hidden within the walls of the Vatican continues to captivate the imagination of time travel enthusiasts around the world. Number 7. The Vatican's connection to Nephilim and Rh-negative blood. One of the most intriguing mysteries is the tale of the Nephilim, an ancient biblical race of giants born from the union of angels and humans, and their potential link to the rare Rh-negative blood type. The Nephilim, often described as fallen angels in biblical lore, are said to possess extraordinary powers and knowledge. Interestingly, some believe these beings have left a lasting mark on humanity through the Rh-negative blood type, a genetic anomaly found in only a small percentage of the global population. More mysterious still is the theory that Vatican City harbors individuals with this rare bloodline. The idea suggests a bizarre connection between the ancient Nephilim and the current custodians of religious secrets. The potential implications of such a discovery are truly unsettling, fueling endless fascination and speculation among conspiracy theorists and historians alike. Number 6. The Forbidden Library. This library is said to hold a collection of forbidden books and texts. These are writings that the Vatican has decided are too dangerous for the public to see. The library's contents span centuries. It has ancient manuscripts, grimoires, and controversial theological works. According to legend, the Vatican has carefully gathered these forbidden books. They want to stop their disruptive ideas from spreading. These volumes are linked to sorcery, alchemy, and unorthodox religion. They are said to contain secrets that could challenge established beliefs. Scholars and conspiracy theorists are captivated by this library. They wonder what kind of lost gospels, ancient prophecies, or alternative biblical accounts it might hold. Despite no solid proof of this library's existence, the idea fascinates people. The possibility of such a trove of hidden knowledge keeps researchers intrigued to this day. Number 5. The attempted assassination of the Pope. In 1981, during his routine presence in St. Peter's Square, Vatican City, Pope John Paul II was struck by 2 bullets fired from the crowd. The assailant, Mehmet Ali Agca, a Turkish national associated with the nationalist group the Grey Wolves, carried out the attack. The true motives behind Agca's actions remain shrouded in uncertainty and suspicion to this day. In contrast to typical state responses that often involve military or suppressive measures, the Vatican pursued a judicial approach following Mehmet Ali Agca's assassination attempt on Pope John Paul II. Pope John Paul II, who survived the attack, visited Agca in prison in 1983 and granted him forgiveness. He also extradited him to Turkey. Number 4. The Vatican Grottoes. Beneath the Vatican's surface lies a maze of secret passages known as the Vatican Grottoes. These underground catacombs are home to the final resting places of numerous popes, including the revered St. Peter himself, making it a place of profound historical significance. The Vatican Grottoes consist of a network of chambers and chapels located below part of the nave of St. Peter's Basilica in Vatican City. Situated 3 meters beneath the current floor level, they extend from the high altar to halfway down the aisle, forming an underground church that spans the history of the basilica from its origins in the 4th century. Within these grottoes rest the tombs of 91 popes. Notably, Pope John Paul II was initially interred here in 2005 before being moved to the altar of Saint Sebastian. The grottoes also house the graves of various royals such as Queen Christina of Sweden and Queen Charlotte of Cyprus. Number 3. The Vatican Obelisk. The Vatican Obelisk is an ancient Egyptian monument standing proudly in the center of St. Peter's Square in Vatican City. While many may not know what it is, the striking obelisk is instantly recognizable to most. This towering monument is thousands of years old, originally erected in the Egyptian city of Heliopolis. The history behind this obelisk is sinister. After the Romans built a ship to transport it, the obelisk was used as a site for the execution of early Christians. It stood in the circus of Gaius and Nero, the very place where St. Peter was crucified. Even in the Middle Ages, the obelisk remained standing with the blood of martyred Christians at its base. It was not until 1586 that the monument was finally moved from its original location and placed in the center of St. Peter's Square. The obelisk does not signify pagan worship as some people have speculated, although it undoubtedly has pagan origins. Number 2. The Secret Tunnel of the Sistine Chapel. The Passetto di Borgo, an elevated passage spanning about 800 meters, connects Vatican City to Castel Sant'Angelo in Rome. Built in 1277 by Pope Nicholas III, its purpose was strategic, to provide a secure escape route for popes during times of danger. During the sack of Rome in 1527, Pope Clement VII famously utilized the Passetto to evade the advancing troops of Emperor Charles V. This event underscored its critical role in safeguarding the papacy during turbulent periods in history. Constructed of sturdy brick and stone, the Passetto features fortified walls with small windows and openings that allow defenders to monitor and defend against threats from the city below. Its elevated position offered a tactical advantage, enabling the Vatican to maintain communication and secure passage to the nearby Castel Sant'Angelo. Number 1. The Bones of St. Peter. In the summer of 1968, Pope Paul VI announced the discovery and identification of the skeletal remains of St. Peter. The revered bones had been found earlier among the ancient structures beneath the grand high altar of St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. Pope Paul VI emphasized that this announcement was based on extensive research by experts, but he also lent his own authority to the declaration. He stated confidently that, after thorough archaeological and scientific investigations, the relics of St. Peter had been identified in a convincing manner. The Pope described the process as meticulous and precise, leading to a positive outcome. Convinced by the evidence presented, Pope Paul VI felt compelled to share this joyful news without delay, considering it a solemn duty to do so. At the heart of the grottos, in the Clementine Chapel, is the tomb of St. Peter. Marked by a grille covering white marble, this site is of profound importance to the Catholic faith, attracting pilgrims and historians alike. According to tradition, St. Peter's tomb is located beneath the basilica. While debates persist over its exact authenticity, it remains a focal point of spiritual devotion and scholarly inquiry. What fascinated you the most about these discoveries? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. Also, click the next video on your screen to enjoy more exciting content.